Hello and welcome to my first video on this new channel. On this channel I talk about technical analysis and we want to make sense of charts. So I provide some tutorials about how to read charts, how to carry out technical analysis, and really how to make sense of the chaos in these charts. So let's start straight away. I want to show you 3 ways how to identify the direction of trends. That is very important. We start here really with the basics in this first video, and I want to keep it simple so that step by step, if you're interested in learning technical analysis, you can step by step learn different things and new things as soon as a video comes out. So 3 ways. The first way is the most basic way, and we just start by just taking a look at the price action. So this is a chart here, and we start at the left and just try to make sense of what has been happening. So we can see that here in the beginning we have been making higher highs and also higher lows. So that's for me the first indication that we are in an uptrend. As soon as the price is struggling to push higher and is struggling to make new highs, that shows that the trend has shifted and that there is now a sideways move, and we can clearly see that here. Yeah, so no higher high, maybe a very slight uptrend because the lows were a little bit higher. It's not exactly horizontally, but there is a clear shift in momentum and in the direction of the trend from here to there. But then as soon as the price is picking up again, I mean, we can see that we hit a low here, and whenever we hit that level, the buyers really pushed in. However, the sellers were still very strong here, and the buyers just couldn't make new highs. However, then when the third time that low was reached here at around $1, then the buyers stepped in, and surprise, this was the first indication that there is another momentum shift. We can see here that another low was produced, but this was not a new low at the same level. No, it was a higher low. So that was really the kickoff and the first new indication that a trend shift was happening, even though at this point no new high was created, but a higher low. Oftentimes that is the case, that a higher low is created and achieved, but not a higher high straight away. But then if that is the case, either higher high or higher low, that's a first indication that there is a trend, potentially a trend move to the upside. And we can clearly see here a higher high was then produced, another higher high, but we lost momentum at the peak. This was obviously a very rapid price increase, a very steep trend. And by the way, here on TradingView, you can also add like the angle to your trend line, but this will be a part of another video. But you can just see how the trend shifted from, I would say a more or less moderate increase to a really nearly horizontal sideways move to a very steep increase. And then it was really very fast. And we can also see at the top here, if we zoom in a little bit, you can see that there were 2 candles. I mean, this is a daily chart, so one candle represents 1 day. We can see that from one day to the other, there was no new high produced. So it was pretty much on the same level. So the price was struggling to push any higher. And also what we can see, these first green candles here on the days before, that really was already an indication that maybe a slowdown was happening. So it could be potentially predicted. And the reason for that is that we can see these thin lines that stick out of the top of that candle, the so-called wicks or shadows. They were really very long. And that means that throughout the day, the price was pushing up here, but the sellers were so strong, they pushed the price back down. And we could see the same here. So whenever that happens, it should at least get your attention and you need to have a look at it. After that, yes, even after the first candle, that then indicated a momentum shift. And at that point, you could have predicted, taking all of that into account, a very steep increase at which at some point there needs to be a price decrease as well. These long shadows to the upside and the inability for the price to push any higher and the red candle. So latest at this point, there, you could have seen that there was a shift in momentum and the price went down. New lows were happening. So we can just draw that line here. I just want to show this to you, that shift in momentum. And then what we can see here, some sort of sideways movement. So as consolidation, we saw a low was hit here, a previous resistance level. So it bounced off, the price bounced off, the sellers stepped in again, but the sellers weren't strong enough. So we didn't make another high. So another low high, we made a lower high actually compared to here. Yeah, we made a lower high here. So we can see that also from there to there, there was still a downtrend, even though it was slowing down a little bit. But at the same time, we made a higher low from here. So that indicated already a small shift in momentum. So you can see that here, a higher low. And this is all just to take a look at price action and to make sense of it. We can then see that the buyers were quite strong. Not as strong as here, where the increase was really steep, but here like a moderate price increase. But we can see there was a big push, and then the candles were getting stronger. And at the top here, we saw the red candle come in, and the price wasn't pushing higher anymore. And at that point, again, a trend reversal could be predicted, because two candles, different colors at the same top, you know, not a new high. And also you can see here at the top of the candle, you could see at the same time again these sort of long wicks stick out, and then we move down. But the sellers weren't very strong, because you can see that the candles were very small, but a lot of red candles, but small ones. But that is also a reason why the trend down here was not as steep, but still, you know, we made lower lows here and we made lower highs. Until then, again, down here, you can see when we hit the bottom here, the local low, we can see that again, there was a wick, but on the other side. So whenever that is happening, that can potentially indicate a trend reversal. Whenever you have something where the wick is really quite long compared to the body of the candle, that could indicate a trend reversal. And again, here we can see a short-term trend reversal. Again, it's going up again. And then when you can see here that nearly the green candles are really small, however, didn't push for another higher high. Yeah, and again, you can see that here, a green candle and a red candle pretty much at the same height, no new high. And there was a failure to make a new high, so you can actually extend that downtrend here further that way. And bear in mind, and I'll talk about that in another video, but there are longer term trends. Yeah, so it could obviously be that you have a longer term trend going down, as you can clearly have here, a longer term trend going down here, but then you have a short term trend go up. And then here again, you can see that clearly here again, where we have the wick stick out to the downside, and we make a new move to the upside. Green candles coming in, and that is also again because there was not, they didn't make a lower low. So and we had the green candle come in. So again, we can see there was a shift in momentum, and then here again the trend increased. The green candles were getting bigger. So at this point, when you see this shift in momentum, only small candles, there was clearly something happening here. And we saw big green candles, and latest, you know, when this is happening and you see the next green candle, this then indicated a shift in momentum, and we saw the price go up again. Now that is the first way of how to just make sense of trends and make sense of charts, and just to understand the basic moves and the direction in which a market is going. Now this is really only to take a look at the price action. What we can also use, and what I like to use, is moving averages. So moving averages exist in different time frames. Yeah, so there is, for example, a 50-day moving average, there's a 20-day moving average, there's a 200-day moving average, and you know, there are shorter term ones and longer term ones. For example, I like to use, because I'm not a day trader, day traders might use maybe a 9-day moving average. But what I like to use, for example, is the 20, the 50, and the 200. And you can find them in TradingView here. Just type in moving average. There are exponential moving averages and normal moving averages. I just try to use the simple moving average, especially with cryptocurrencies, because the exponential moving average is moving a little bit faster. And you can set the different, sort of the time frame here. You can select the length. The 9 is obviously the default setting here, but you can go to 20 and 50 and 200. But we just take the 9 here. Just want to show this to you, or maybe just to keep it simple, because the 9 really moves all the time with the price. We maybe take the 20, which is the longer term one. And what I just want to show you is there are different, obviously different moving averages, But what we can see here, that we have the moving average here, which is really just basically an average of the price. So you can really see that it's moving here within the price. What that basically means is that the price action does not respect this moving average. And whenever this is the case, so we're basically moving around this moving average, that means we are basically in a sideways movement. There is no clear direction. But as soon as we are above a moving average, it really indicates that there is a trend either to the upside if we're above the moving average, and you can clearly see that here. It can then even act as support level. Yeah, so the price has difficulties to break below it. So that is why oftentimes moving averages are considered support or resistance levels as well. Here, for example, it acted as resistance. So it was here in an uptrend, and then the price action actually extended quite far away from the moving average. So it was far away from a possible support, but then it broke down and actually went just below the moving average. So again, it was here then a resistance, and the price bounced off that. And then we went through it again. And again, in a sort of sideways move, slight downtrend. However, yeah, the moving average wasn't really respected in terms of being a support or resistance level, but then clear. So it was a bit difficult to make out were we in a downtrend or an uptrend here, but then here very clearly in a clear uptrend, always above that moving average. So that is very bullish. And then, for example, if you drop below that moving average again, that is a bearish indicator. Now, I will now show you the third way of how to identify a trend, and that is the ADX. So we can find the ADX again in TradingView here, ADX and DI. We have to type in and then we click on that. And for the purpose of this video, to keep it simple, what we select, we deselect the ADX. We just have the DI plus and DI minus lines here. And so what we can clearly see with these two lines, if you have the green line above the red line, we're in and this is an indicator that we are in an uptrend. And as soon as we have these crisscross overs, it's a bit less clear where we are. So there was a bit of battling around where we were. But then here, where we really moved to the upside very strongly, we can see that here very clearly the green line is again above the red line. And then as soon as we had a strong trend to the downside, the red line was continuously over the green line. So that is very clear here on the ADX. I really like this indicator. Haven't really used it a lot in my videos on the on my other YouTube channel, but it's a very interesting indicator to identify trends. What we can also see here, for example, we can also use trend lines. So basically by connecting at least 3 highs, for example, or 3 lows. But you can definitely have a trend line here, for example, and whenever, for example, such a trend line is broken, like here, you can see that this break very closely matches where we also see the trend shift here on the ADX. And again, on the other side as well, when the trend line was broken again to the downside, there we can see again where we have another shift here on the ADX, from which point then the red line was above the green line. So these are ways to identify trends. And for me personally, I use it to get an idea where we are. I always want to trade with a trend. That's my personal strategy. I don't trade against trends. I like to be on the train, you know, when the trend moves in a certain direction. So these were 3 ways of identifying trends. First of all, I showed you how to simply look at the price action and make sense of it, which is very basic, but can already explain a lot and tell the story of the price action, what the buyers and the sellers are doing. Then we took a look at the moving averages, and basically the moving average can tell you as well if we are in an uptrend or a downtrend, depending on if we are above or below a moving average, or in a sideways movement where there is no clear direction and we are trading around the moving average. And then I showed you the ADX indicator here, which can show you a positive trend or a trend to the upside if the green line here is above the red line, and again on the other hand a downtrend when the red line is above the green line. I hope you like the content. If you do, please smash the like button, and if you want to follow me on this trading journey, then please subscribe. Thanks a lot for watching, and see you in the next video. Bye.